Welcome to Commas.
Commas is all things tech.
You see culture and technology coming together.
Life hacks.
The practicality right now and the inefficiency of the internet of buying and selling stuff is extraordinary.
Entrepreneurship advice.
I think the first thing is you got to understand your business inside out.
Love and tech.
We've almost reduced dating to kind of this very momentary snap of a person.
It's gonna be a fire show.
I have yet to see something these days that's truly differentiated.
New advice and new inspiration every show.
It really is about the next generation of creators going faster, further than we did.
And now, Sequoia Blodgett.
Now let's start stacking them commas.
On this episode, former NFL player Chase Minnifield takes us on his journey from the league to tech. And you guys, why in the world did my Instacart shoppers steal my groceries? Stay tuned for all the madness.
Entrepreneurship advice. Learn from the hottest and most successful investors, founders, and innovators in the game.
Determine your greatness.
It's time to get your knowledge up.
Okay, for sure.
Hey, what's poppin'? It's your girl Sequoia, and I have got my boy Chase Minnifield in the building. Serial entrepreneur, ex-NFL player. How are you doing?
I'm great. Appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, I'm excited. So before we jump into the conversation, about what you're doing now, I want to know your history. So tell me about you playing in the NFL and what caused that transition into tech.
That's a long story, long back end, but we'll try to tackle it like we can.
No pun intended.
So I'm born in Lexington, Kentucky, born and raised. My dad, he played in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns for multiple years. So football is what I seen growing up. So I always had the dream of being a professional athlete in some form or fashion. I ended up going to the University of Virginia, multiple-time All-American, and got an opportunity to play for the Washington Redskins. Injuries, trying to climb up the roster, all these different types of things like that, just ended up where football was not in my cards pretty quickly. So I played about 3.5 seasons. And then I went home and I was like, what do I do now? Because I think I'm good enough to still play. I don't understand why all these people are still in the league and they don't want me in the league no more. So I really was in a tough transition phase and really trying to figure out where to go. Before I got into tech, I started my first company in 2015 called Helping Hands, which was a student housing service providing company. I started that with the purpose of helping my friends and family that were back home. They were all just sitting around, all your high school friends, all your family, struggling to find jobs, just feel like they're not progressing in life. So I wanted to provide them with an opportunity using my platform. And the way I did that was starting a moving company that I was going to focus in the student housing industry. That ultimately went okay. We got a couple ideas, a couple contracts, a couple opportunities, but they told me that, we're really budgeting for the actual stuff that's needed to get ready for the move-in day. So clean, paint, maintenance, all these different types of things. So we started doing that, and we've been able to scale it to a 7-figure company, working in multiple different areas of the country. And, it's been good. And then after that, after doing multiple years of that, I decided, technology. Actually, I didn't think I could do technology, to be honest, first off. So I actually just realized there was a problem in the industry where they were struggling to manage their vendors on the campus. Because there were so many vendors, there was so much work to do, and there were so many things. So people get inefficient when there's a lot of moving parts. So I thought technology would be a great way to fix that problem. And it wasn't just a problem where I was at. It was a problem nationally and at every campus, at every university. So we decided to try to take advantage of that opportunity, and we just started drawing screens. And now EasyTurn was born.
Tell me about some of those life obstacles that came in the way of your journey.
So essentially, if you think about my mindset as far as growing from a household where my dad was an NFL player, successful NFL player, Frank Minnifield. I don't know if you follow football.
Not at all. I'm following though. Go ahead.
He's 1980s all-decade team, so he's probably one of the better players to play in the NFL in his time frame. So, I had high expectations of myself and things of that nature. So going to the University of Virginia, I did well. Like I said, I was an All-American player. Ended up having a lot of injuries. So injuries is kind of like my obstacle that, I've always had to, and it helps me in entrepreneurship, is the fact of being injured was compared to like hitting the ground. And that's one thing that I think is very valuable to me in the entrepreneurship is I'm not scared to go to zero. Like I'm not scared of I've been to the ground and I've come back and I've bounced back multiple times. So, I'm not scared to take risk. I'm not scared to fail and hit the ground. Like I'm out there neck on the line type situation. Like I'm cool with that. So essentially, when I was in high school senior, I had a scholarship to go to the University of Virginia to play football, but I decided to play basketball amongst the not wanting my parents not wanting me to, since I had already had a scholarship to play football, and I ended up getting hurt. I tore my ACL, and I was scared to, almost like crying tears that I was going to lose my scholarship and everything that I thought I could do going forward. This is a mindset of a 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid, where like, oh, my life is over. I just ruined everything, right? Mm-hmm. I just ruined everything. So that thought process of me having to call my coach then and tell him that I just, tore my ACL playing basketball was a phone call and a conversation that was an extreme scare of mine. And then not being able to have an obstacle where you really gotta like dig deep, and you either have a choice of like, okay, this is what it's gonna be, or this is what it's not gonna be. Mm-hmm. So I remember when it finally clicked to me that if I got anything to do with it, this is not how it's gonna end. Mm. So, I'm very heavy in my faith and things of that nature. So, I really remember the time when I was like, I couldn't lift my leg up, I couldn't move it, I couldn't do nothing. Going from like, a kid that was a great athlete, jump high, run fast, play basketball, play football, play soccer, whatever you want me to play, I could play it, to not being able to move or do anything, just bedridden, bed stuck. So I really remember the day where I was like, all right, you ain't gonna get better doing nothing. Like, they tell you what to do, but you're gonna have to go 3 times, 4 times more than what they say you're gonna do. So that's what really started my process of understanding that, you got to put in more than what's expected of you. So, I was getting up at 4:30, 5:30, doing my rehab, go back to school, do my rehab again, come back at night, do my rehab again, not knowing what I was going to get out of it. Still not knowing, like, oh, can I do this? Can I get back to the level that I was at? That type of situation. Ultimately, I was able to get back to that level. I was able to get back to playing well at the University of Virginia, being a 2-time All-American and having a first-round, second-round grade coming out of college. Before I got hurt again, going into my bowl season right before my draft, and I was back down at square one again. And it just kept on being that same story of you get up and you get knocked back down. You get up and you get knocked back down. To where I got on the NFL roster, and it was a different. You ever get to something and it's not what
you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, what I thought it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? So, you get to that space and, the money's in it. There's a whole bunch of different things that's involved with it. But it's a constant battle. It's an uphill battle to get.
What are some of those things that you were battling?
Just you having to basically go into a situation and work harder every day just to have an opportunity to continue to pay or continue to feed your family or the people that are counting on you. That day to day in the NFL is a different ball game, because not like the NBA or the Major League Baseball where your contract's guaranteed. You can get cut any day, and that could be your last check from the NFL. So it was a different type of grind, especially at the bottom of the roster, where you got to treat every practice, every game every practice, every day like it's a game. To the point where it's not just for me, it's for other people outside. Like, these people are like counting on you. You got to live up to expectations of, oh, this is what this was. This is what I try to do. This is what I got to be. So, and that thought process is the fact of, I ended up thinking that this is what I got to do. This is what I got to be, like, from a little age. Like, I never thought that, oh, I can go do a business or I can go be an entrepreneur. My mom wanted me to be a lawyer, but I wasn't hearing that. I was in one ear and out the other. You know what I'm saying? So I try to talk about, for all the other kids, and I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, how many young black kids do you think there are in America today that want to be a professional athlete? Like, what's that percentage?
Gosh.
What's that percentage? It's a high percentage. It's got to be.
Because that's what they see.
Yeah.
Like, they see athletes, they see artists, like,
Exactly.
and actors. Like,
Exactly.
those are the 3 things that at least were, when I was growing up, everybody wanted to be, right?
Right.
And now it's like, now it's cool to be an entrepreneur, right?
Exactly.
But the thing is, it looks sexy. That's the issue. It looks real sexy because it's being glorified at this moment. But when you're actually an entrepreneur, that shit ain't sexy. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs don't get that. I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs. I think a lot of people who think it's a great idea.
Good IG posts.
Right. It's cool to be on the gram flexing, but to actually do the work, it's depressing half the time. So, like, unless you're in those trenches, but it's also one of the most fulfilling opportunities, one of the most, I would say, if you can get to that point of success and if you have that tenacity, it's going to give you the most money that you could probably ever make before you could make it as an athlete, as an entertainer. Yeah. You know what I mean? So for me, going through the process and for yourself, we just roll with the punches, right? But there are some punches. And going back to your football analogy, I think as an entrepreneur, you're getting those punches, but you're getting them mentally. And that's the part that, like, messes you up. Exactly. It's like...
And that's exactly what I was dealing with in sports, was mental blocks of can you or can you not? Is this worth it or is it not? Like, everybody has that those brain twists where you like, am I what I say I am? Can I be what I said I can be?
Imposter syndrome as an athlete. That's interesting.
No, it's like that. And, I mean, it's always a comparison game. Can I run? Can I jump? Can I be as strong as the next man? So it's always a mental game. The mentally strong guys are the ones that actually are the better players in NFL. And that's why I'm like trying to play this platform of getting athletes to understand that they can be great entrepreneurs. I believe they can be great entrepreneurs. One, because they have, just think about the discipline, the character, and all these different traits that it took to get to the highest level of whatever they're doing. The fact that they don't, or the fact that they go into these, phases of this is the only thing I can do, is because, it's almost like a brainwash of like, I got to do this, I got to do that from a young age. Like, this is how you be successful. And if you're not doing this, you're not going to be able to do anything. So trying to get rid of that stigma of you got to play sports, you got to play ball, even for the guys that are like doing this successfully. Like, you don't need them to write you a check. Like, they've already wrote you a lot of checks. You can do that, and you could actually leave the game and start something that you want to do. I feel like you could, I mean, it might be a risk, but essentially, if you really put your mind to it and you put in the dedication that you took towards that sport, towards that game, I would put my money on you to at least be able to sustain yourself.
Or become an investor and kick your feet up.
Or become an investor.
Kick your feet up and call it a day.
I know some people looking for some money.
I mean, I love that. I love that analogy. And I love that we tapped onto mental health because, and that's one of the things that Commas champions in terms of our platform is we give you a clinical psychologist to work with because we know the struggle. You know what I mean? And a lot of entrepreneurs, athletes, anybody who is in a space that requires a lot of pressure, a lot of work, a lot of tenacity, a lot of grit, unless you've gone through that, I mean, like I grew up in the hood, so there was some levels, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Unless you've gone through that throughout your life, and that could cause you PTSD, and that's a whole nother conversation. Right. But unless you've gone through that throughout your life, you don't know how to deal with that. And I think that that's so important. So have you ever sought any type of mental health, any coaching, what have you done in order to move yourself forward in this space?
One, I would say listening to other people's stories, not just trying to do things by myself, not trying to just do things by yourself in a space, especially with mental, you just turn yourself crazy. You're trying to just self-diagnose things, you know what I'm saying? Or self-heal.
Medicate, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is dangerous. This is just a rabbit hole that you go down into. So I think really finding out that there's community in what you're going through, I think that's extremely important. And just being open to other things, whether it's I got out of working out daily. I got out of those routines. It's hard to, and I find it hard. I don't understand how entrepreneurs get to work out as much as they work out. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm when I wake up, I get to working on growing my business. So me trying to find and then I start realizing your physical health and your mental health are one in one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to find time to get into the gym. I had to find time to get back into the gym. You know, when I was playing football, the gym was the first priority.
Right.
Like, you know, 2 times a day. Now my first priority is moving the top line of my company.
Right.
You know what
but
I'm saying?
you can't move the top line of your company unless you're mentally prepared. Right. So I love that analogy. Like, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to the gym at 5. You looked at me crazy. You guys, if you guys could see his face, he was like, 4. Yeah. Get to the gym at 5 o'clock, so I'm done by 6, and then I can start doing whatever I need to do for the day, right? Mm-hmm. But that dopamine push at 4 o'clock, I don't even feel it. Like, I'm in there, I'm working out, I'm doing my thing, and by the time 6 o'clock hits, I'm like, all right, cool, straight, and I'm prepared. Mm-hmm. But if you don't set your intentions for the day, and if you don't get yourself mentally prepared, you're jumping into a rabbit hole, and you're basically trying to do things that you're not even in the right mind space to do. So you have to prepare yourself mentally.
No, it definitely makes sense for sure. Like I said, we're learning and growing at the same time. I was in a space when I really, you know, when you're playing in NFL, you're going to generate capital, you're going to generate money. But once you're done playing or done giving you checks, it's just a short amount of time before your money is gone. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I had to make smart decisions. I remember when I started helping hands, I was like, I don't have an opportunity to be wrong on this. So, you know, once I started it and I was like, you know, I can't be wrong on this. This has to hit. You know, I wasn't going to sacrifice any time outside of making this company grow. So, you know, essentially, you really learn as you go. You learn as you go. You learn as you go and you grow. So, you know, I think that, you know, me finding like the platform of Commas, I recently found out about Commas. So shout out to Commas and their dope platform and all the content they're putting out. I think is, you know, you can't even put a price tag on it. So, you know, it's extreme information that, you know, I think everybody can grow from. So just realizing that, you know, I'm trying to find community, to be honest with you. Like, I don't see too many people that look like me in the tech space, especially in Kentucky. Like, I'm the guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, in Kentucky that, you know, is in tech, and then black tech is, you know, 1 or 2 of us. So, you know, just getting out there and meeting other people has been beneficial.
Let me back you up for a little bit. So you said you went from the NFL, started your first company. How did you know how to start a company?
So my dad, he was an entrepreneur, so I kind of seen that as well. He has his own company. I actually worked for him for a little bit. That was a terrible experience.
Wait, tell me about that. Why was it terrible?
Well, he's the kind of boss where you turn your phones in at the door. You turn your phones in at the door and you put in a strong 8 hours of work in front of the computer and knock off like 100 tasks a day. So like the micromanagement was way too much for me, especially coming from the NFL where you're kind of like free to do what you want to do.
You're like, I got rules?
Yeah. So in that experience, but he taught me a lot. So he actually had like a startup company that I was kind of like the first person that was in charge of selling it. It's called MED, Measuring Every Day, which was for athletes who, you know, just had a knee injury and you could measure your range of motion without having to go to the doctor. So I was in charge of selling that. So I learned how to build target lists. I learned how to cold call, things I've never done before, send productive emails or emails that are going to be open more than other emails, like trying to figure out the
messaging.
Yeah, messaging and all those different types of things. So I learned that there, and then I applied it to my first concept, Helping Hands.
So I love that you learned all of the skills and they're now automated.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I think that's so interesting, but you had a base going into it, so you actually knew, okay, I'm going to need to do these certain things. And now applying that to your company, it helps you to scale. So obviously you transitioned into tech. You said that you didn't know that tech was something that you wanted to do. What made you make that jump into tech?
Well, my goal with Helping Hands was, and I'm very like aggressive, very confident. Like I'm not like a guy that's like half stepping. So I think I can take on the world. So my goal, and sometimes people are like, whoa, like hold the brakes. But my goal was to like have my Helping Hands company as a franchise on every campus around the country. And I wanted it like tomorrow or yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So that was my goal. But then I realized like I got up to where I had like almost like 250 my payroll was like 250 people. And I was like, yo, this is way too much. And that was only.
How did you scale to that large? That's
we were working in
huge amount of people.
Yeah, we were working in like 4 or 5 different states at the time, and they were all underneath our. Wasn't no subcontracting; it was all underneath my company. So I was like, "Yo, I'm running out of paper. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything is going crazy. So I was like, the next year, I'm like, okay, I'm scaling well, and I like 10x that year. So my growth was really good, but I just like, there's got to be a different way to scale easier for me, and because it's gonna be impossible if I double again, I'm gonna have this much and this much and this much. So I gotta find an easier way, a more efficient way to grow. So then, I did it a different way the next year. Was able to still 2 or 3x. But then ultimately, I was like, technology will be a whole lot easier if I can find a way that all these vendors and all these property managers and all these universities can have me on their campus without me being on their campus. That's where technology came into play. And I was like, let me try to figure out something that they can use instead of me actually providing the service providers for them to do the work.
So you knew that by implementing tech, you would be able to grow this company at scale. What resources did you have in order to understand what type of technology you should implement? How did you know which engineers you should be hiring? How did you know how to go about that process?
I didn't, to be honest with you, but I have experience. Like we're always using technology on a day-to-day basis. So, just like the Facebooks and the Instagram apps and all these different apps I'm using on a day-to-day basis, I'm just trying to see what's like valuable, like what makes this valuable, what makes this valuable. And I just started drawing screens and saying, I think this should work like this in this industry. So, I didn't really have an idea of I didn't know nothing about no HTML, Python, none of that. I didn't know any of that stuff. So it was really just like me bringing a notebook to a development company and like, hey, can you guys create this?
Okay. So you ended up outsourcing it.
Outsourcing.
Okay. See, I think that's interesting because a lot of investors, are you obviously fundraising for this company at this point, right?
We are fundraising, but we started off bootstrap. We bootstrapped our first full year.
Okay. And so going through that process, a lot of investors are like, well, who built the tech? Is that a question that's been coming up for you?
It has. And, I guess we've had a decent answer so far, but essentially,
offshore and now in-house? What did you tell them?
We didn't go offshore. I wasn't comfortable with that. So we went to the people that were in like Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
Like a company that does apps, does websites, all those different types of things like that. I did bid it out. So I didn't just go to somebody and be like, hey, what's your price? I got multiple pricing and just, tried to use those prices against each other to get the lowest price. So I did have that kind of experience and negotiation abilities to get a decent little deal. But essentially, I went to the people that I could knock on their door if something was going wrong. I didn't want to have to.
You didn't want to call India like, yo,
sometimes
what's up with my app?
Yeah, exactly. I got to be able to door knock.
So did you have mentors throughout this process?
Yeah, I had a couple mentors. More later down the line, because I got to understand, when I got into the technology space, I was just going to try to build it like my service providing company. And I didn't think I needed capital. I didn't think I needed mentors. I was just like, I know I can sell this. I can do what I did with the Helping Hands company, and I can build a target list, and I can tell them this is what it does. I can go do meetings and show them what it does, and I can probably get some customers. We generated customers. So right out the gate, when we released in May 2018, we were able to acquire, we judge our portfolio based off bed size, how many beds are in our portfolio. We was able to get 9,000 plus beds and bring in revenue right out the gate. So after that, then I decided I need to understand this a little better. I need to run. I can't just jog. I got to sprint with my technology. So that's when we started learning the game.
I think you brought up an interesting point that a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize is that you validated the market first before you went after venture capital. I hear a lot of stories of entrepreneurs, and of course, people have come to me and they're like, hey, we want to raise capital. Here's our idea. And I'm like, that ain't how it works, right? So you had already validated the market, and you had already been generating a revenue. And I think those are the key components to leave that at, because a lot of people don't understand that that's the process. You have to validate the market before you actually go and try to raise capital. So now you're out raising capital. What has that process been like for you?
A lot longer than what I expected. So let's just keep it like that. So when you think you have money and you've generated revenue, and you're pitching against companies that aren't really generating revenue, and you're just kind of further along in the same time frame or a shorter time frame, and it's still struggling to raise capital, maybe because it seems like a simple idea, and it's not. But I
have customers and money.
It seems like a simple idea.
More money? And they're like, no. Exactly.
So it's been a road, and it's still a road. It's still a process right now. Learning, and being in Kentucky, you kind of once you pitch to one investor group, you've pitched to them all the investors in the area. You know what I'm saying? So just trying to get out and meet more people, come to LA, go to Silicon Valley, go to Austin. That's probably our biggest challenge, is just meeting different people and getting our product in front of other people, while also trying to still sell the company and make sure we're not going down, and making sure that we're still acquiring customers.
You made a great point, which is you have to have a runway in order to fundraise. A lot of people will go out, try to fundraise, and they're thinking it's going to take 2 to 3 months because they've seen boy up the street who just generated a couple million in capital through fundraising. And they're like, that's what's going to happen. And then it's 2 years later and you haven't closed your seed round yet, right?
Exactly.
So how much runway did you have in order to, be able to, and then you also said you still are generating revenue. So that's sustaining the company. So how much runway did you have?
So, I got that question a lot. And, originally I was like, runway? Let me look up this runway. Let me look at this runway.
You're like, I've been on the football field. I know there's a runway somewhere.
What are we talking about? The airport? You know what I'm saying? So I was basically I was funding my company out of my other company. So it wasn't really like I was running out of money, because my company was bringing in enough monthly recurring revenue where I knew what I was able to afford into my other company. But it's been a blessing to get those two things separate, and not, this one trying to carry this one. So essentially we started off and I just knew what expense I could handle, and what was going to, but we could go forever if we wasn't losing money over here. So that was kind of my answer to the investors, was that I don't understand what you guys are saying. We're going to go as long as we can fund it. So that was the thing.
Plenty of money. What are you talking about? So what's one of those things that you were hit smack in the face with that you were like, oh my God, I was not expecting that?
When you have outsourced developers and you have issues in the tech and they're not responsive in a fast time, like, because they don't work for you. They are, they put a certain amount of hours into your project and then they go do work on another project. So like if we have like an issue on Friday, and you got to understand, in the student housing industry, our most important season is right like in the everybody's using the product at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So if there's an issue, everybody has the issue. So if we have something that was going on Friday, and their developers, they're going on the weekend, we can't get nothing done. So that was one of the things that we really ran into in the beginning, was, trying to keep our customers happy when there were issues and we couldn't fix it ourselves. Like with Helping Hands, if I had an issue with like cleaning or painting, I'll jump in there and I'll sweep and I'll mop and I'll...
Excuse me, I got it.
You know what I'm saying? It was something I could do, but I can't fix the tech. That's not my lane.
You're like, the whole shit's broke.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. So then you obviously ended up hiring engineers, I imagine. But also they're really expensive. So how did you sustain there?
Well, we were able to generate enough monthly recurring revenue to cover two more developers. So just continuing to sell and continuing to get clients was able to afford us in, growing our team without having to raise that much capital. So, it's been a blessing for us to have a product that, is considered revolutionary, considered they was using like spreadsheets and things in that space, to where we have a lot of demand, even that, and our customers are willing to like grow with us. They're not like, okay, I got this over here that's experienced and they've been here for a while. Like, we don't want to see you guys. Like, they want to get on here. That's how bad the problem was. They want to use us. And if we have any issues, they're willing to like go through our growing pains with us. So we've been able to keep all clients that we've had since the beginning and grow. I think we 10x this year. Or no, 5x this year. Sorry.
So you're at what?
50,000 beds.
Which is how much revenue?
We're about 11K monthly recurring revenue.
Nice. That's great. And so are you closing your seed round? Are you raising your seed round now? What are you doing?
We're still raising, trying to close it. I'm thinking about just moving on to a Series A round towards the end of this year. So still in the thought process of that.
Okay, cool. And now you also have another foundation. So not that you don't have enough companies under your belt. So tell us about your foundation and what's going on.
Oh man, the Minnifield Foundation is near and dear to my heart. One, because, growing up in football, you're used to giving back to people. Every Tuesday in the NFL, you have a day to like do community work, community service, things of that nature. So, when you're out of the NFL, you're trying to find a way to, get back into that space of giving back. One, because, it just makes you feel good and you're doing things for other people. You're not just doing things for yourself all the time. So Minnifield Foundation is, our motto is outdream yourself. It's to give back to the youth of the community and get them around people in their community that they may look up to, whether it's athletes, whether it's lawyers, whether it's, businessmen, whatever it is. We want them to just see people outside of what they see on TV. We want them to touch them, feel them, talk to them. And our big event was the Super Bowl Super Bash, where we would go to like a Sky Zone or trampoline park, and they would come out, and then all the like local celebrities in Lexington, Kentucky would come out, and we would all just have a fun time watching the Super Bowl.
Love that. So 5 tips that you would give a new entrepreneur who is going into the space, who you obviously weren't technical, you didn't have a technical background, and you have a tech company, which is a beautiful success story because a lot of people fail just even trying to get through that pathway. So 5 tips for non-technical entrepreneurs who want to get into the tech space. What would they be?
One would be, and this might be just in the initial phase for anybody that's not even thinking about tech yet, is the fact of there's an opportunity in front of you right now. I think that like people like myself that are into an industry very deeply, and you understand the problems of that industry, there's probably a tech solution in that space that you probably know better than anybody else would know, and you have an opportunity there. So I think digitizing your life on a micro level is an opportunity for anybody right now. So if you're sitting at your 9 to 5, not liking your job, and you might have an opportunity to, really start a company through technology in a space that you see, just start looking in a different lens as far as like what issues are going on here and how can I fix them, instead of I'm tired of being here type situation. 2 would be just jump. I feel like a lot of people never understand or never realize what they can do because they're sitting there standing at the ledge and not really ready to jump because they don't know if it's going to be a hard landing or a soft landing. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a great analogy.
So my thing would be just jump. Nobody's ever told me to come up with 5. It's usually like 3. But I'm at 2 right now. Essentially, never stop learning.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's such a good one.
Yeah, never stop learning. Yeah. Don't ever think that you understand it all. I think YouTube University has been one of my greatest allies in this process of trying to learn a new space, with just like you got to get in a dictionary, vocabulary, all these different type of things is brand new for me in this space. So never stop learning. I'm going to
jump in there really quickly. Also within that, I think never stop learning kind of paraphrase is invest in learning, right? Mm-hmm. I've spent over probably close to, I would say $5,000 to $6,000 this year just like trying to understand the things that I don't know, because you're saving on time.
Facts.
Right? So I love the fact that you brought that up. Like, watch your YouTube videos, get all your free content, but invest in content too, because you're going to get to your destination so much faster.
Exactly.
Like, there's been so much stress I've had around like not knowing certain things, like how to build a sales funnel, how to run your Facebook ads, whatever. I've paid for that, and all of a sudden, boom, like months later, I'm good. You know what I mean? So I love that you brought that up.
For sure. And I got 2 more. That's 3, right? Yeah. So
you got 2 left. Go
ahead.
2 left. What you got?
So I would say get people around you and I guess this kind of go with learning as well, but get people around you that you can, bounce ideas off, bounce thought process off. Don't just be around here trying to attack the world by yourself. Like, have people around you that, are making you better, that are pourers, not takers. So I feel like that's extremely important, especially in this process. I mean, it can get really lonely in the entrepreneurship journey. So make sure you have and that could be your team, or it don't have to be people that's actually associated with you. Could be friends, could be your significant others, those type of things. Just have people that you can, really get away from the actual grind and be proactive in your self-care. And then 5.
So what's your 5th?
My 5th one would be that obstacles are going to come. And being resilient and persistent. And I guess pivoting as well, not being scared to pivot, but all 3 of those things go together to me. Is that once things come, and I call it like a speed bump, once a speed bump happens, not being the person that gets stuck on a speed bump and doesn't get over the hump. Understanding that, it might be a pivot. It might be just, grinding a little harder, but understanding that resiliency and persistency is the only key ingredients for success.
100%. I heard a quote from this entrepreneur named Dan Henry, and he was basically like, whoever can endure the most pain is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as long as you can get through those speed bumps, like you said, as long as you can basically tackle what's in front of you, that next speed bump will get easier and easier and easier, and eventually it'll click. But you got to be able to get through the bumps. And the people who cannot get through the bumps are the people who quit. Like, I don't believe that you actually fail. I actually think people who are considered quote unquote failures, because to me, failure is learning. Yep. But people who are considered failures are the people who quit. You know what I mean? So I love all of those. I feel like you were speaking to me. I hear you, Chase.
Testing me.
Right? Where do we find you?
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything's at Chase Minnifield. So I'm very easy to find, very accessible. And I'm willing to, talk to, and I'm getting into the entrepreneurship community, going to more events and things like that. So I look forward to meeting other entrepreneurs, other people in tech as we continue to go forward down this path.
Yo, okay, so you guys familiar with the app Instacart, right? If you're not, basically it's this app where you can order your groceries, they come drop them off, and it's a super seamless process. And I've been using it probably for about a half a year. No issues up until recently. So basically, I order these groceries and I'm chilling. I'm waiting for the app to tell me what's going on. So my shopper picks up my order and I can literally see it on the app. So she's going and she's getting all of the stuff. And I send her, because I ordered this burger. It's like an Impossible Burger. So I send her a screen grab of the burger. She's like, okay, I got it. We're good. I'm like, yes, she found my burger. I'm excited. And then, there's a couple replacements. So she's like, okay, what about this one? Do you want this? And she can literally give me a screenshot of things that she's going to replace and then give me. So I'm like, perfect, all good. Never did I ever suspect anything, okay? And so I'm waiting, and I go to do the dishes because I like to have a clean counter when my groceries get there. So I go to do the dishes, and I'm listening for the app because when the person arrives, it'll say, like, it'll send you an alert to say that the person's there. So I'm waiting for my alert, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and then there's no alert, and I'm confused. And I'm like, where's my person? Because it said that she left 20 minutes ago and she'd be here by 4:30. And now it's 4:32. So I go back to my app and I'm looking at my emails and it says, your groceries are delivered. And I'm confused because I have no groceries. So I don't know what to do because I'm really, really shocked because I don't have the groceries that they say that they delivered. So I go to the door because maybe she put them on the ground, right? That's crazy, but maybe she did. So I open the door. There's still no groceries. And so I close the door. And it hit me. This bitch doesn't sell groceries. Yo, I was like, are you kidding me? So I call Instacart and I'm like, yo. And so I'm sitting on hold for probably like 6 whole minutes. And finally they pick up, but nobody is saying anything. So I hang up because now I'm heated because it has clicked in my mind that my groceries are not showing up because she has taken my groceries. So I call them again, and the guy's like chuckling when he gets on the phone because he's having a great day. He has his meal came, right? I'm not having a great day. So I pick up the phone, or I'm on the phone, and I'm like, hello? Where are my groceries? Like, I mean, the hood shit came out of me, right? And so he's like, well, what's going on? And I give him the whole rundown. Like, I ordered these groceries. It said that they were delivered. And I don't want to jump to conclusions, but like now I'm really upset and now I'm jumping to conclusions. I'm like, she stole my groceries. And he's like, okay, well, let me give her a call and see. And in my mind, I'm like, you gonna call her and ask her what? Like, did she drop them off? But then I'm coming to the realization that maybe she did. Maybe they're at the front door because I live in a gated community. So maybe she couldn't get in for some reason. I don't know why, because they can get in every single time. And so he calls her and she doesn't answer. So he comes back to the line and he's like, yeah, she's not answering. Of course she's not answering because she's at home eating my kale, okay? I'm so upset. So basically, at this point, it has now come to the conclusion that she has stolen my groceries. Or at least I've come to this conclusion. So he's like, do you want us to send you out another order? I'm like, no. No. He doesn't say that. He's like, do you want us to refund you? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm starving. I want my groceries. That's what I want. So he's like, okay, we'll send you out another order. And so basically he sends out another order and then I hang up. Then I get a call from Instacart again and I answer the phone. I'm like, hello? And they're like, hi, is this Miss Blodgett? I'm like, yeah. Like, okay, so we're so sorry. We got your message and we've contacted. Oh, no. We've been contacted by her. And she said, I knew she was going to call you guys. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Like, so you just been stealing groceries and you know the routine? Like, what's going on? And so basically, I'm just like, you know what? She stole my groceries. They were like, she said she tried to call you when she got there and you didn't answer. No, she didn't. I'm furious. She stole my groceries. I'm yelling at this woman at this point. I'm like, no, she stole my groceries. And so she's like, okay, you know what? We're going to put a report out. You know, we're going to audit her account to see if this has ever happened again. If it makes you feel any better, they're told to take the groceries back to the store if they can't contact the person. And I'm like, she ain't take my groceries back to the store. She's at home with my groceries. Because basically what she says is if they're like frozen goods or anything, then they won't accept them back. Well, 90% of my order, I would even say, because I'm vegan, is like frozen vegetables and stuff. So I know for a fact that she's like at home now with all of my food. And I'm just like, all right, just send me out another order. So needless to say, they had to play both sides because they can't assume that this person stole your stuff. And they don't know that I didn't, say that she had my groceries and like was at home with now 2 orders of groceries. So I understand their perspective, but they got to figure that out because that to me is the craziest thing that I would never in a million years imagine somebody would like take somebody's groceries. But that happened. So if you guys are going to be using the Instacart app anytime soon, just be cognizant of the fact that if your groceries don't show up, you might have to place a call. The good thing is they were able to recover everything. They sent me out a whole new batch of groceries with all the order. I was so afraid too because I'm like, those burgers are few far in between. If she took my burgers home and there's no more burgers, I am about to be hated. But no, they found the burgers. So we're good. But yeah, that's my Instacart story.
This is The Plug.
You know who's the plug.
It's time to get caught up on the hottest in tech.
Keep it locked, you heard?
With Sequoia Blodgett.
I see you, little mama.
So what is Commas, you ask? We are an entrepreneurship community that helps you get support on your journey to financial freedom. So Commas is a community of like-minded startup entrepreneurs with the goal of being profitable. We focus on helping founders gain an understanding of how to build online, digital, and tech-enabled businesses through courses, coaching, and support. So throughout that process, what we'll do is we take you through a 4-month program, and you'll learn different courses that have focus points in entrepreneurial mindset, product development, branding, marketing, sales, publicity, fundraising, basically every single touch point of your business. And not only that, you're going to understand business formation because you can know all of that stuff, but if you don't have a legitimate business, then you're stopping in your tracks, right? We have a one-on-one session with amazing coaches that span everywhere from mental health to legal, brand, and finance. Not to mention, you're also going to have group coaching and a mastermind where you're going to collaborate with your fellow peers and get feedback on your business as well. So we're an all-inclusive community to make sure that you're getting your company moving from point A to point B. And we also have live events. Our previous event was done in partnership with Gary Vaynerchuk and Draper. So, we get it popping over here. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the Commas Club, log on to www.commasclub.com.